Okay, good afternoon, folks. We are going to take up H13, which has returned from the Senate with amendment. And so we're going to hear from Ledge Counsel a summary of what those amendments are. So we're happy to have you back, Jen.
Thank you. It's been a while. Nice to
You've been busy in healthcare.
Yeah. I didn't even know it was you. I looked over.
So thank you.
Sure. Jen Carby from the Office of Legislative Counsel. I didn't actually look at the right page. Did you get what I sent? Okay, great.
Oh, as passed the House with Senate proposed changes already. Oh. look at
Yes,
that.
and I'm showing you a markup
Awesome.
version. That's what I've been doing because I think it's helpful for you to be able to see the proposals in context. So I'll pull it up in Word, but you can see it on yours as well. All right. So. So I didn't say it, Jen Carby, Office of Legislative Counsel. So we're looking at H13, an act relating to Medicaid payment rates for home and community-based service providers. One of the changes you'll see right away that is changed throughout is the committee may remember there was some concern from the Agency of Human Services about the use of the term home and community-based services with a broader description than the services that are included in Vermont's Choices for Care component of our Section 1115 demonstration. And so the proposal from the agency down in Senate Health and Welfare was to just define it as community-based services, but keep all of the content the same. So we're just using the term community-based services, but it doesn't preclude those services being that, the community setting being a home setting.
I mean, like home health agencies. Would it be included?
No, I think everything that the description is exactly the same. It is just not using the term home and community-based services. It is calling them community-based services and using that term throughout.
Okay, thank you, because it aligns with the way
Providers, community-based.
Right, so it still includes home health and hospice services. Okay, so, and then the other piece that we had talked about, I think on the very last day in here was some concern around describing services being provided in a home or community setting for which Medicaid rates are not otherwise established pursuant to statute or rule. It's more of an issue when we were talking about putting them in, but having rulemaking. But still, it seemed clearer to say something that it was a little bit more specific. And so the proposal from the Agency of Human Services was to say that it's not a clinical residential setting or a private non-medical residential setting.
I'm not sure about the use of the word. I'm not sure about the use of the word clinical, to be honest with you, just because clinical, what they're referring to are nursing facilities.
Nursing facilities,
And-
hospitals.
Right. I'm just, maybe we'll ask them why they didn't say medical.
Yeah, well, we struggled with the word.
We
something
did
on this
too.
whole thing.
Yeah, I remember that.
it's
Yeah.
Still not.
The private non-medical residential setting, I get that. I mean, that's a very very clear definition, specific thing. Clinical residential setting, honestly, I'm more concerned that they could interpret that as like ERC, enhanced residential care, has a clinical component.
We did say ERC.
It says including,
Right.
right. Okay, all right, thank you. It's just a initial reaction.
Okay, in section 2, so you'll see, and I won't point it out throughout, but just everywhere we've taken the home and just left the term community-based services. So, and some of these changes were proposed between second and third reading in Senate Health and Welfare. The agency came in and said, actually, they had some more concerns and wanted some amendments, some of which Senate Health and Welfare accepted and put into a floor amendment, some of which they did not accept. The first one that they did accept was, or a version of it, I think the agency suggested, they didn't like the word determine payment rates. They suggested assess, which I didn't like because it has two different meanings. Whether evaluate or sort of impose on. And so I suggested calculate if that was really what their concern was, that these were just being sort of figured out, but they weren't being necessarily applied. And so everybody seemed comfortable with calculate. So we have that the secretary will calculate payment rates, and that change is made throughout from determine to calculate. They also wanted, and the committee accepted, although it's a little, doesn't read super clearly to me, but when calculating these payment rates, the secretary, for informational purposes, shall ensure that the calculations take into account factors that include the reasonable cost of any mandate. That the actual text has not changed, but
All of this is for informational purposes. The whole thing
Right,
is
they're like wanting to
make double.
reiterate what the whole purpose
It's
is.
called belts and suspenders in the.
From there, right.
I mean, I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to make sure that we're not guaranteeing any particular rates,
yeah,
which was never our intention. It was our intention to receive information about what they should be, but
and I do think calculate is probably a clearer word for that.
calculate's
That's a
good.
good
I didn't
word.
like assess either, so, yeah.
If I might put informational purposes somewhere else if we were like at the very beginning, if we were starting from scratch, but this was what was proposed and accepted. And then the change that you can see sort of generally in here on line 9, where there's the colon, line 10, well, I guess sort of the structure of this, and then the strikeouts on line 17 and 18. That was me saying, it seems like we're repeating a lot of the same stuff here. Why don't we kind of combine these into one? So that's, sort of a shall. I put the shall and the may both under the when determining rates for calculating, in this case, calculating these payment rates. So that I don't believe is a substantive change.
Right.
It just read more cleanly.
You're just reorganizing it. I see.
Yeah.
It's as the intro to number 1 up on line 9. It says the same thing as what you were saying in B.
Right, exactly.
Okay, all right. People get that?
Mhm.
Brenda, you got that? Okay.
Same as 1C.
And we've got on page 3, got determining, calculating, taking out home. And I did leave in, the agency had not requested, and I thought it was important not to change the one determination on line 9 about the methodology shall set forth a predictable timeline for redetermination of base rates. That seemed like more than just recalculation,
Mhm.
perhaps redetermining what they should be.
And I know that they had wanted to take out at least once every 5 years.
Right, they wanted on a reasonable
Periodic
schedule or something, and I did advise the Health and Welfare Committee that it had been important to this committee that there be some, real
Yeah, otherwise we just.
guarantee
we
of
have-
an ongoing, right, of an ongoing, so.
Thank you.
So they pull.
And so they,
Left it as we.
right, they left it as is. All right, and then in D, there was, I think just clarifying on line 16 to 17, process by which a provider of community-based services whose financial condition places it at an imminent risk of closure. There was concern expressed from the agency about extraordinary financial relief being a very specific process for nursing homes. I didn't find that argument necessarily to hold a lot of water, because you could direct them to have a very specific process for extraordinary financial relief for other types of providers. But there was agreement from the committee to change it to that the provider may request provider stabilization as opposed to extraordinary financial relief. Seemed like the concepts were fairly similar, but one of them caused alarm bells for the agency and the other one didn't seem to. So
Does it impact the stream of funding in any way if we're not referring to it?
no,
No, this was, just to refresh people's memory. You might recall in the budget adjustment, which has, not passed. They had one amount of money that they then up to $10 million of one-time dollars to provide financial relief to non-nursing homes. They had a whole other section for nursing homes, but to non-nursing homes who were in financial distress, community providers. And we became concerned because not that they were providing financial relief, but that there is no real process. It's not known to the vast majority of community providers that there even is the possibility of such assistance from the state. And in fact, we had, 5 adult days closed. We've had, I don't know, a couple of dozen of residential care homes close. And all of those could have been eligible for some assistance that might have been able to keep them open. And so, again, they wanted to take out this section completely, and I'm grateful that the Senate did not take it out. So I think the wording is okay with me, but
Works.
yeah, go ahead.
Does it need to say may request provider stabilization funds from the agency?
This was the language suggested by the agency. I think the stabilization maybe could be funding or something else. I don't know what the,
Services.
I mean, it's probably fine. I think it would be better wording, but if that's what they liked, fine.
But could it
Yes,
be
if we-
broader? I mean, could it be?
They do provide technical assistance.
Technical
Okay.
assistance could fall
All right,
under
so,
stabilization as well as financial.
I mean, yes, it could have said provider stabilization assistance or something, but I
Yeah,
don't think it's.
yeah.
it's pretty
Works.
open-ended there.
All right, then we have redetermine to recalculate. Taking out the home and community, similar section, similar change in section 3 on page 4. In this case, the agency's proposal was to take out section 3 entirely, which would have left the existing law as is, which would have been, I think, confusing. So my suggestion to Health and Welfare was either to I can't remember what I'd suggested. I think just to update the language.
It doesn't matter. This is good.
Or repeal it. Either repeal it or change the language, but don't delete the section from the bill and leave the underlying law the same. All right, section 4, the update report, again, just changing that language and then,
Back up just a moment. In section 3, I see the part that determine and calculate. Then there's the crossouts that are not highlighted in yellow.
right, that's because you had them crossed out as well. This is all just saying, don't have a separate process like for,
Gotcha.
yeah, it's in the chapter on designated and specialized service agencies. So it seems helpful to at least have a reference in there saying, by the way, there's a provision somewhere else in statute that's talking about your rates.
Everyone should, thank you.
All right, and then no change to the effective date. There's the amendment would change the title of the bill after passage to enact relating to Medicaid payment rates for community-based service providers because of the lack of home and in that case. And that's it.
Wow.
Come back.
So, no, I mean, honestly, given
Right.
what the agency came at the 11th hour, 59th and a half minute with, we ended up with something that is palatable to us, I think. And
I don't see a lot of big.
yeah, they were wanting to delete, some things that actually I think were important to the integrity of the bill. So, anybody have any questions on this? So this is up, this is on notice today. I'm going to take a vote here, straw poll, because I don't feel like it's something that 3 members who are absent would have any issue with us doing, and I want to be able to report on it on Tuesday.
Sounds good.
Okay.
My typical question is the funds already there.
Yes, this doesn't,
My typical question, there's no change in funds.
There's no
there's
funds.
no funds in this.
Because
It's just do the work.
My typical
Tell
question, I
us.
might as well stay with my regular thing.
Yep.
I didn't think there was, but yeah.
No funds, but it'll bring you information for next
I
year.
didn't think there was, but
however, that does remind me to maybe check in at the speaker's office too, because the first time around, this did go to appropriations.
Right, in this case, it's just on.
And they said there's no money.
It's not being referred
Right.
to any committee, so,
Okay.
I mean, you may want to
Let's
let,
spend on that.
you may want to
She
let,
could have done that today if she thought it needed to.
you may want to let them know in case
Yeah.
they want to look, but I don't, right,
Okay.
it doesn't change anything about the fact that it still doesn't spend any money. Although I believe Nolan updated his fiscal note.
And you need to touch base this afternoon
I
because
will.
we have a mock session Monday.
Good session on Monday.
Yeah, so it could get sent off somewhere without us knowing it.
oh, really?
Yeah, But-
I'll swing by.
Yeah.
Just make sure everything's good.
okay. Are people ready to, this is a straw poll on the amendment as proposed by the Senate Health and Welfare Committee. Okay, all in favor of the amendment as proposed by the Senate? Raise your hands, please. Okay, so that's 803.
Perfect.
Thank you, Jen. Dan's.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I feel like we need that button.
Done. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember those buttons, yep.
Yeah.
Staple.
Thanks very much. I appreciate that, Jen.
Yeah.
Another one to check
Nice
off the list.
to meet you all.
You too.
Thank you for letting the committee know some of our internal discussions we had.
Yes, right.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes
Yeah, that was nice of you.
it feel appropriate, but sometimes when something comes in at the last moment that I knew had been
Thank you.
through conversation.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Alrighty. Okay, folks, so next week, we are going to be taking up a variety of different topics. We are going to hear from the treasurer's office. Oh, and look at this. The agenda magically appears on my desk.
Oh, is it here?
No. Because it's not finalized.
No, I'm just.
Yeah.
I was just gonna look if it was here.
So we're going to be hearing from Dale, and this is about their policy of payments to parents and Meals on Wheels. So those were two issues that we had in previous sessions that we want an update. I am aware that they have a new policy or guideline or whatever it's called on the payments to parents. And the Meals on Wheels, there's a lot of history about that, so we'll hear from them. We are going to hear from the health department about what their sort of final thoughts are on the Rare Disease Advisory Council. And I know that they are working to try to get to a yes someplace with that. And since we had reduced the number of meetings and narrowed the scope and all of that, hopefully they will come back with something positive on that. We'll hear from State Treasurer Michael Pichek on the Long-Term Care Trust Fund. And we also be prepared because at some point when we have time, which is sprinkled throughout this, we'll do the other reports as assigned. So we are, as a result of the report that we heard earlier, we've got the Vermont Ethics Network coming in and Patient Choices Vermont about the end of life care.
Great.
Cannabis Control Board, as a result of, again, that review is coming. And we are going to take just some initial testimony about what exists now and what is needed on H143, and that's relating to support services for individuals who are deaf-blind.
Which is the report that I will be.
Oh, well timed.
Is there, so are we going to be able to have the accessibility? That's
Where to.
faster than I thought that would be able to happen. We're going to be hearing from Ledge Council about the sort of, I guess you might call them loopholes, the things that you referred to.
Wow.
And we are also going to hear from the Office of Child, Youth, and Family Advocate and the Department for Children and Families about the use of restraint for children in residential programs. So we have a variety of things we're doing next week. And honestly, that's the way it's going to be between now and the end of the session. And just for people, I just thought I would explain briefly what a token session means. So it really is, as the speaker said, nobody needs to be present except the person at the gavel. And what it does is it moves the calendar. So something that would have been on notice for Tuesday. So let's just say something passed out of committee today. Okay, that would have been on notice on Tuesday, and then it would have been heard on Wednesday for second reading. In this case, if it's anything that was voted out today, will now be on notice on Monday, and the second reading will be on Tuesday. So it moves everything up a day to happen a day faster. I'll be honest, I'm not really sure why we're doing it because there's not a lot of bills, but
We were told this morning that it has to do with, well, it was, oh, you were there, that, would they need to move, there's a timeline on a Senate bill that's coming and they need.
Oh, a particular bill.
Oh,
They
that's
need to
why.
be done by a certain time
Okay.
in order to accomplish what they need to get done before.
Okay, so something.
It's a backwards
It's something
time.
very, yeah, because normally we do this when there's a lot of bills.
Right, and
And
we're
there's-
trying to move
and we're
things
trying to
towards
move
the end of
things.
the session. It
Yeah.
happens often.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
So S36 should be up for third reading on the next legislative.
Oh, the second.
It says reliable.
I saw it blink before.
It's okay. This is in policy, so you can take us off, Lori.
Now it's coming back.
Oh, okay. Hi.
But because we weren't there for second reading.
That's funny.
What's that? So if the next legislative day from today should be third reading on S36,
Yeah, no, those third readings don't happen.
third readings are.
It's just about
It
the.
literally is just about things that are on notice.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I see.
everything else moves to the next day.
But we don't come in.
No, no, you don't need to come.
Okay, I'm just making
So the
sure
little-
they'll be here.
Yeah, that's why I was wanting to make sure to explain, no, you do not need to be here on
Okay.
Monday.
Because I wouldn't.
You might want to read, things that are on notice because
Oh,
now they will be up for second reading rather
Okay.
than on notice on
Okay,
Tuesday.
right.
Although I don't think there
That's
is
good
anything.
to know. I constantly am checking.
So here's the little history tweak.
Yeah.
Way back when I was first here, I don't know if people were more suspicious then of surreptitious things happening, or if it was just an old protocol that we, got beyond. But if you recall, we have to have a quorum to function, to pass a bill or something, but a quorum is always assumed unless it's questioned. So you can have one person there, and if nobody says, do we have a quorum? You can proceed with business and pass bills. So a token session, in fact, bills could be passed if no one questions.
Huh?
So back when I was first here, when there was a token session, there would always be a member of the minority party who lived nearby who would come just to protect and be able to say,
Oh,
Speaker, do we have a quorum? Oh, I guess not. But anyway,
Mhm.
That's
it's not
interesting,
seen as
though.
necessary.
So in that instance,
We did
no
have one
action.
famous instance of where that happened.
Well, yeah.
I do remember that. So no action could be taken, but the calendar still moves ahead.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, because the session has
The
been
session-
opened. It happens still,
Yeah.
but you can't take any action because, discovery, you don't have a quorum.
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. those-
Interesting.
There's all sorts of parliamentary things that we learn in these processes, so.
Well, I did notice this morning when Jill said that, I know, I was just looking around, there were some people who, they had just told the group I was in that this was gonna happen.
Yeah.
But I looked around, I saw some faces going sort of like, what? Well, what's getting pulled over our eyes here?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
And why?
Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry.
Yeah,
about
right.
it.
It's like-
We're gonna have a session Monday. You don't have to be there.
Remember it was like the psilocybin bill from last year, and there's supposed to be a report.
Yes,
And I was just,
I don't know, look that.
I didn't see
What's
it
that?
on our report. I found the report. It's not on our report page.
Oh,
And,
okay, give Lori the.
And I did my homework, got my
Okay,
report.
great, and then, so she can put it on our report page.
Okay, I'm interested in that
Yeah,
myself.
she's trying to because
Oh.
Yeah,
I don't have internet.
All right.
Oh.
So
no, it's okay, we're done.
I did.
Are we gonna do our report?
Not today.
Are we live?
I don't think we're live. I do want to say something.
Now you'll have it ready for Tuesday.
Are we